programa ay rated PG. Ito ay nangangailangan ng patnubay at gabay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.
This program is brought to you by Philippine Statistics Authority. Magpa-census, magpabilang.
From the news center of People's Television, this is Newslife.
This is Newslife, your news, your life, informing, inspiring, interacting with the stories that make the people the life of the news. Good evening, I'm Catherine Vital with Georgina Ketrick. Welcome to Newslife.
In tonight's news, President Aquino vows to review the Bureau of Customs proposal to check balikbayan boxes or bulk packages sent by overseas Filipinos. President Aquino reaffirms that his term will end in June next year, ruling out a Mar-Noy tandem in the 2016 elections. Prices of petroleum products are set to be rolled back anew, effective tomorrow. Typhoon Ineng exits, leaving behind at least 17 people dead and 14 others missing.
President Aquino assures that steps will be taken to address overseas Filipino workers regarding the handling of their balikbayan boxes by the Bureau of Customs. The president said there will be safeguards to prevent possible abuses. The details from Rocky Ignacio.
President Aquino assures public that there will be safeguards to avoid abuse in the fight against illegal drugs and smuggling in the country. The president said this in an interview with media in Cebu City following the Bureau of Customs plan to open and check balikbayan boxes as part of the campaign. The chief executive is set to review Customs plan to conduct spot checks on balikbayan boxes with Finance Secretary Cesar Purisima and Customs Commissioner
Pipilitin natin ilagay lahat ng safeguards para walang abuso. Pero palagi ko naman, wala naman sigurong magmumungkahi na wag na natin tingnan dahil trabaho ng customs yun na pangalagaan yung inaangkat dito sa ating bansa. Wala naman siguro nagsasabing, sige, basta pagbalikbayan box, pwede na maipuslit yung droga, pwede na mailabas yung bala, pulbura, piyesa ng baril, yung baril mismo. Baka naman totoo nga yung pati yung motorsiklo na hanap. No? Ayaw naman natin pumasok.
The proposed random inspections of balikbayan boxes has drawn complaints from overseas Filipino workers, but the president assured transparency by designating independent observers during inspections to ensure that items in the balikbayan boxes will be protected.
Ang sabi po nila sa atin, pag meron daw isang container, laman lulan ay puro balikbayan box, iisa lang ang deklarasyon kung ano laman nung, parang pagkasabi sa akin, medyo maraming balikbayan box kada container. Okay. Ang pangunahing layunin nito ay makatulong doon sa kampanya natin laban sa mga illegal na droga. Tapos marami na rin tayong balita na nagpupuslit ng bala, mga baril. Meron pa raw nag-dismantle ng motorsiklo na tinatawag lang big bikes, no? Sa ilang kahon para makaiwas rin sa dapat na bayaran ng multa. Ang paliwanag nila sa akin, x-ray raw gagamitin sa pagsiyasat itong mga balikbayan box at pagkatapos nun, yung may kahila-hila lang mapapakita ng x-ray, yun lang ang bubuksan na physical. Tapos idinagdag na magkakaroon tayo ng mga independent na observer sa custom para bantayan yung proseso para matanggal yung agam-agam ng pagnanakaw.
President Aquino asked the people to give customs a chance to do their job against illegal drugs and smuggling. The Bureau of Customs explained that the plan is an anti-smuggling and illegal drugs measure and not aimed at use but at smugglers who exploit the use of balikbayan boxes to ship contraband in the country.
Tulungan natin yung customs na gawin yung kanilang trabaho at siguraduhin, dapat naman siguraduhin ng gobyerno na wala namang, di ba, wala namang karapatan ng taong bayan na mapipinsala dito sa paghahabol ng pangangalaga ng kapakanan ng lahat.
For the People's Television, Rocky Ignacio.
Meanwhile, Customs Commissioner Alberto Lina stressed that they are not after the pasalubong of the OFWs but the smugglers who are reportedly using balikbayan boxes to ship illegal items into the country. Lina said smugglers have resorted the balikbayan boxes and consolidated shipments to smuggle contraband in the country through fake consignees or insertion of smuggled boxes or goods, otherwise known as riders, in consolidated shipments. He also clarified that they are not imposing taxes on the balikbayan boxes. Lina added further that stricter compliance is necessary because the rules on consolidated shipments have been abused. He noted that the government and industries have suffered losses due to the illegal activities.
Over at the Senate, Senator Bam Aquino called on the government to update the current minimum fee threshold balikbayan boxes. According to the senator, updating the minimum fee threshold would make it cheaper for 10 million overseas Filipino workers to send their packages abroad. Through this, balikbayan boxes and other packages of OFWs are expected to be processed faster. Meanwhile, Aquino said he understands that random inspection is a part of the effort to curb smuggling. But he added that OFWs should not be burdened by subjecting their packages to search that may result in damages, pilferages, and loss of goods.
President Aquino has ruled out a Mar-Noy tandem in the 2016 election. The President stressed that he is retiring from public office once his term expires on June 30 next year. This report.
President Aquino ended reports of a possible tandem with DILG Secretary and Presidential Standard Bearer Mar Rojas or Mar Noy in 2016. The President reaffirmed that his term will end in June next year and to seek for another post is not an option.
Habang tinatanong mo sa akin niya, parang nakikita ko na yung mga kapatid ko naiyak na at yung mga pamangkin ko humahagulgulo na. At ultimo na lang si Yoli na aking kasamahan sa bahay, baka naman magretiro bigla. No? Yung kung gagawin ko na rin naman lahat ng trabaho, siguro dapat sumang-ayon na ako doon sa mungkahing pagtingin ng konstitusyon ulit at term extension.
The President is confident that he made the right decision in choosing Rojas to ensure continuance of good governance in the country.
Pero paniwala ako nga dito, dapat talagang, at sa akin, personal, yung naniniwala ako doon sa measure of success is your ability to train your successor. Yung kami lumilipat na doon sa idea na personalidad ang dapat natin itulak kada kampanya, hindi dapat plataforma. So katulad nga ngayon, sinasabi namin, yung paglilipat kay Secretary Mar, paghahabol namin ng tinatawag na continuity. No? Tandaan niyo, noong una ako tumakbo, sabi sa akin, mukhain tumakbo ko, hindi naman namin inaasahan na malulutas mo lahat ng problemang dadatnan mo. Pero sana maumpisa mo yung proseso. Ngayon kung hindi naman sa pagtataas ng bangko, no? Alam niyo, hindi ko gawain yun. Pero kung sa atin parati iaasa yan, baka hindi tayo nakakatulong doon sa manigurado na tuloy-tuloy ito arangkada nangyayari sa ating bansa.
President Aquino hopes that Senator Grace Poe will reconsider the administration's offer as running mate of Rojas in next year's elections.
Umaasa pa rin kami hanggang sa ngayon. No? Hindi naman napuputol yung lines of communication. Mas bihira na kami nag-uusap ngayon. Nailahad na naman namin yung magkabilang panig kung ano talagang, di ba, parang layunin. Sa ngayon naman si Senator Grace, na mga marami sa kundi man lahat na nangyayari ngayon, dapat ipagpatuloy. So wala kaming pinagtatalunan sa prinsipyo at kung saan ba natin dapat dalhin yung bansa. So kami sa koalisyon, hindi lang ng liberal, talagang umaasa pa rin na magkasama-sama lahat ng puwersang gusto magpatuloy sa nangyayari ngayon.
The President also denies that the administration party is behind malicious reports against Poe. Meanwhile, President Aquino confirms of appointing new faces in the cabinet this October due to some resignations by those who will run in 2016 elections.
Magkakaroon ng pagpapalit dahil sa October, mga kasamahan na magtatakbo. Nandiyan na si Mar Rojas, nandiyan si Francis Tolentino, nandiyan si Joel Villanueva. Medyo marami-rami sa ating kabinet tatakbo. Hindi lang naman yung cabinet level. No? May mga ilang pang kawani ng gobyerno nag-resign dahil nga may balak tumakbo sa 2016. So, revamp, mali siguro yung term na revamp. No? Pero kailangan natin magtalaga ng mga taong mamumuno nito iba't ibang ahensya na walang balak tumakbo. At magkakaroon ng bagong mukha.
Pero definitely, Mr. President, wala po itong kinalaman kung sino yung susuportahan nila sa 2016 since ilan daw po sa cabinet ang nagsabi na posibleng iba po yung suportahan nila.
Alam mo, talo mo ako, nakakausap ko yung kabinete ko. lang nagkaroon kami ng cabinet meeting tungkol sa El Nino at saka doon sa budget performance. Wala naman nagpahiwatig sa akin may susuportahan silang iba. Walang nagpahiwatig, walang nagparamdam, walang nagpadala ng anonymous letter. No? So baka naman tanay mo ulit yung nagsasabi siyang ilan ang hindi susuporta. Baka pag tinanong mo na magbigay ng pangalan, sasabihin niya, you will know.
For the People's Television, Rocky Ignacio.
Meanwhile, the city of Cebu is the host today to 2 declared presidential candidates in next year's elections. Also in the vote-rich city was Senator Grace Poe, who has yet to announce her decision on whether or not to seek higher office in 2020. Ria Fernandez filed this report.
In an unusual chance, 3 presidential bets have visited vote-rich Cebu, namely Vice President Jejomar Binay of the opposition, DILG Secretary Marojas of the administration, and Senator Grace Poe, who is an independent. The Vice President is in the province to know the condition of Cebuanos. Rojas, meanwhile, is in the area with the President and allies and supporters of Liberal Party in Central Visayas for the gathering of friends in Cebu Coliseum. While Poe was invited by political party Tingog Carolinian and USC JCs of University of San Carlos to join the celebration of their foundation week. In an interview, the lawmaker says she's surprised that VP Binay and Secretary Rojas are also around the place.
Hindi ko nga alam, nagulat din ako na sabay-sabay kami. Actually, this was planned for us, no? At least 2 weeks ago. Meron akong kausap dito. Pero gayon pa man, malaki naman ang Cebu.
She clarifies that she's meant to meet the students in the university and not to campaign.
It's a chance to be able to talk to them, to find out ano ba yung mga kailangan nila. Alam mo kasi nag-umpisa yan sa National Youth Commission eh. Tapos doon na-voice out din nila kung ano yung mga pangangailangan, ano yung concerns ng mga estudyante. Pag pupunta ako dito sa Cebu, wala pa akong pagkakataon na matagal na nakadalaw sa isang universidad.
It was supposed to be really low-key. If you see, there are no streamers, there are no banners. It was supposed to be like a lightning pulong-pulong with student leaders just to meet up real quick.
Poe is still pondering whether to run as president. Her decision is expected to be announced hopefully before the filing of certificate of candidacy on October 16. Aside from prayers, Poe admits consulting to political leaders in Cebu. For the People's Television, Ria Fernandez, Cebu City.
President Aquino reiterates that there up in the government's campaign against graft and corruption. The president stressed that the Supreme Court's decision to allow Senate Minority Leader Juan Ponce Enrile to post bail and regain temporary freedom will not affect the anti-corruption drive of the government. The full details from Elena Luna.
President Aquino is confident the government's anti-corruption campaign will not be affected by the Supreme Court resolution granting bail to Senate President Juan Ponce Enrile. In a media interview in Cebu City, President Aquino explained cases are being filed involving illegal use of public funds.
Maapektuhan ba? Hindi. Tuloy-tuloy ang kampanya natin. Tapos nag-file na naman ng DOJ. Sa ombudsman ng pangatlong set ng kaso, hindi unahin to at tuloy pa rin yung paglilitis.
The President also directed Justice Secretary Leila de Lima to review Enrile's bail ruling. Enrile is charged with plunder, which is a non-bailable offense.
Ang plunder na isa sa mga kaso ay supposed to be non-bailable. Ngayon, doon sa pagiging non-bailable, ang marami dito sa mga non-bailable na asunto, pwede lang mabigyan ng piyansa pag mababa yung ebidensya, yung mahina yung ebidensya. Importante yata tingnan natin doon sa desisyon ng Korte Suprema ay wala silang binabanggit tungkol doon sa ebidensyang hinarap at tila nakasentro sa edad at kalagayan ng kalusugan ni Senator Enrile.
The President does not see the Enrile ruling to apply to former President and Nawapaga Congresswoman Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, who is currently on hospital arrest at the Veterans Memorial Medical Center in Quezon City. Arroyo's colleagues at the House of Representatives are urging the Sandigan Bayan to grant her house arrest.
Kalimutan yung hospital arrest in itself is a privilege. No? And she is in under hospital arrest to ensure that whatever available remedies, cures, therapies are needed are given in a very timely fashion. Okay? No? So, kailangan kung mabigat ang krimen ginawa mo, may mabigat rin naman dapat kapag para ba sinabi na rin natin sa lahat na nag-iisip. No? Gawin nyo kung anong gusto nyo at sa makapangyarihan ka, may salapi ka, malulusta mo lahat. Kung gano'n na mensahe natin, paano kaya natin babaguhin yung lipunan?
The president is also aware of the lack of quorum in the lower chamber sessions, but he is not bothered even if he has called on Congress to prioritize the 2016 budget and the Bangsamoro Basic Law.
Lahat naman ng mga kasamahan natin dyan, nanggaling tayo dyan, yung naintindihan natin, may preso rin na makauwi sa distrito at makita na kanilang mga constituents. Pero palagay ko, at the end of the day, no, ang pangunahing trabaho nila ay gumawa ng batas at itong mga batas importante sa ikabubuti ng ating pong bansa. So, ako nakakasigurado na pagdating ng oras na kailangan na talagang pagbotohan itong mga panukalang to ay maglilitawan lahat, lampas-lampas doon sa quorum.
For the People's Television, Elena Luna, Cebu City.
Senate Minority Leader Juan Ponce Enrile is back to work after being released on bail from over a year in hospital detention in connection with the pork barrel scam. Enrile, accompanied by his daughter Katrina, told newsmen it was his duty to go to work and earn his pay. Jade Miguel tells us more.
Senator Juan Ponce Enrile is now back in the Senate after the Supreme Court allowed him to pay amounting to 1 million pesos for plunder charges. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Enrile headed straight to his office where he was welcomed by his staff and Senate employees. Enrile said he immediately returned to the Senate to fulfill his duty as a senator.
Well, it's my duty to come here and earn my pay. No? Sinusweldohan ako, hindi ako nagtatrabaho. Diba?
However, the senator said he was not excited in going back to work as everything will be just normal on his return as the Senate Minority Leader. With regard to the Senate bills like the Bangsamoro Basic Law, Enrile said he would still need to study the measure as he has been a Senate for more than a year. When asked on who he will support in 2016 elections, Enrile vaguely said that he is no longer a politician, yet did not further elaborate on what he really meant by the said statement.
Hindi na ako politiko eh.
At present, he said he has not yet talked with some politicians as what he only did in Camp Crame was to study. Meanwhile, Enrile chose not to comment on critics, saying that the granting of his petition to bail was just political accommodation and later refused to discuss the status of his plunder case. For the People's Television, this is Jade Miguel reporting.
Meanwhile, Senate plenary debates on the Marcos version Bangsamoro Basic Law began today. The deliberations were earlier set for Monday last week, but were rescheduled to give time to the senators to study the proposed law. Here again is Jade Miguel.
The Senate has finally started its first day of interpellation on the basic law on the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. The first senator to interpellate was Senator Pia Cayetano. The debate centered on the block grant and automatic appropriation for the Bangsamoro region.
In the meantime, does His Honor know how the 20, let's assume for the sake of discussion, 23 billion, how will this be allocated? I mean, maybe by way of is there, because there's nothing in the law as far as my review has gone that tells us how this will be allocated.
The bill's sponsor, Senator Bongbong Marcos, said that it would be the Bangsamoro Parliament that will determine the allocations of the said block grants amounting to approximately 30 billion pesos. But Cayetano deems the national government must still have control on how these funds will be spent since we are talking of a huge sum of money.
Given that these are funds that would normally be allocated throughout the country, but it is now being specified to a specific area, I do feel strongly that there should be government involvement.
On the automatic appropriation provision, Cayetano said that she might oppose it if there will be no guidelines as to how the Bangsamoro would spend the block grant given to them by the national government. Meanwhile, Marcos sees the need to have an established definition of block grant in the proposed law as it has been usually used in a wrong context.
Binago nga nila ang definition eh. Naipaliwanag ko nga, ang definition talaga ng block grant ay pondo na binibigay ng national government sa local government para i-implement ang national program. Ang example na ginamit ko is TB DOTS. Hindi ba meron tayong TB DOTS? That's a national binibigyan natin ang DOH, binibigyan ang mga local government ng pondo para ma-implement yung programa yan. That's what really a block grant means. Ito, iba ito. Dahil ang block grant na binibigay ng national government para sa Bangsamoro government is for operations. Kaya hindi tama, mali ang pagkagamit. Pero we continue to use it and just say that this is a new definition of the word block or the term block grant.
For the People's Television, this is Jade Miguel reporting.
The quorum problem this afternoon delayed for about an hour the resumption of plenary debates on the BBL. Freddie Abando was there and he filed this report.
Today's session started at 4 p.m. with more empty seats on the floor, forcing Buhay Party List Congressman Lito Atienza to question again the quorum. Atienza has made it his personal crusade to rise and remind the leadership the House cannot conduct business unless the required number of members are present on the floor.
We objected to start the session without calling the roll. They had to suspend. And now, after 1 hour, the majority arrived, so we have a quorum now. 1 hour late. Anyway, we're committed to do this. Ito yung ginagawa natin para sa ating tamang pamamaraan sa loob ng Kongreso. Once we have 46 majority of the members of the Congress, then there's a quorum. And so there's no problem. We can start with deliberations. However, the problem also is after the quorum is reached, after 1.5 hours to 2 hours, some congressmen would leave the hall. And so that will now be subject again to a quorum call by anyone who would like to just oppose, especially the BBL.
It took almost an hour for the House to register 192 members present, to include those attending the hearings of the Committee on Appropriations, which is reviewing the proposed 2016 national budget of 3.002 trillion pesos. Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, chairman of the House Ad Hoc Committee on the Bangsamoro, is hoping the quorum will last while the debates for the draft Bangsamoro Basic Law is in progress. The House is pressed for time to approve the draft law by the end of September. Rodriguez said it's a matter of heart and conscience for every member to be present for the bill's floor debates and approval, given its importance in implementing the peace agreement between the government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. Congressman Tupay Luong appealed to his peers to do what's best for the national interest.
It should be more of conscience and the heart. We are all elected. We are precisely elected to be present in the. We should be present from the start of the roll call up to when the business of the day is finished, up to 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the evening as required.
We don't want to lose hope because we believe this is an instrument of peace, and this is not for Bangsamoro, this is not for anybody else, but this is for the country and the Filipino people. So I would like to appeal to all our colleagues in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, to take this issue into serious consideration because we want the security of this country to be stabilized.
A major concern for Luong is the restoration of the 20 amended or deleted from the Malacanang proposed bill, provisions on political, financial, and economic autonomy. Luong said these provisions are so important for the new Bangsamoro entity to deliver its promise to bring peace and development to its core territories, which has suffered from over 40 years of conflict.
If you listen to the position of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, they stand firm in the agreement, the so-called comprehensive agreement. But to me, as member of Congress, I'm taking into consideration 3 major factors here. Number one, autonomy. So political autonomy is already there because the present system of governance will be shifted to parliamentary system. Now, financial autonomy. Compared to 1954, under this proposed substitute bill 5811, there is already a financial autonomy. Now, another factor is who will control the natural resources within the Bangsamoro government. Some of the members of the ad hoc want this to be a reserve power of the central government. What is embodied in the comprehensive agreement, if I remember correctly, that is already an exclusive power of the Bangsamoro government. However, we can still work on some compromise if the control of the resources will not become exclusive. Maybe that can be a concurrent power between the national government and the Moro Islamic Bangsamoro government.
For the People's Television Network, this is Freddie Abando reporting.
Is brought to you by Philippine Statistics Authority. Magpa-census, magpabilang.
Nung nagplano ng salo-salo, may mga di sumagot na pupunta. Kulang tuloy ang handa. Problema! Tama sana ang handa kung tama ang bilang.
Nung nagplano ng biyahe, may mga di sumagot na sasama. Di tuloy kasya sa sasakyan. Problema! Tama sana ang preparasyon kung tama ang bilang.
Parang ganyan, kaya may census.
Mapabilang!
We are the friendly enumerators.
Kakato kami sa
Papsan lang po!
Maghahain ng may init at nakakabusog na kaalaman at libangan.
Kaya sama na!
At maghahatid ng napapanahon at kapaki-pakinabang ng mga balita at informasyon.
Kami ang inyong GMB Barkada.
Magandang gising every morning!
Dahil ikaw ang boss dito sa
Good Morning, Boss!
Sa kainitan ng pananghalian, sariwang balita ang matutunghayan
Diliman na titiyakin ng pamahalaan ang matibay na ebidensya
upang magabayan po ang publiko sa paghahanda mula sa malakas na lindol.
Samahan sila Kirby Cristobal at Princess Habiba Sarip sa paghahatid ng mga pinakamahalagang pangyayari sa loob at labas ng bansa. News at 1. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, 1:00 ng hapon. Dito lang sa inyong telebisyon ng Bayan.
The president also attended the gathering of friends at the Cebu Coliseum. Present during the event were local officials from Cebu and the provinces of Negros Oriental, Bohol, Siquijor, Leyte, and Samar. Elena Luna has the details.
President Aquino called on Cebuanos to once again support Tuwid na Daan as he attended Liberal parties a gathering of friends. The chief executive joined local officials of the province, led by Cebu Governor Hilario Davide III, in the event as he reminded us of the power they hold in choosing the country's next leader. He also reiterated the need to support DILG Mar Rojas for his reforms to continue.
Alam natin na si Mar may integridad, maasahan at malalim ang kaalaman. Pero batid din po natin, hindi lahat ng tao mulat sa tunay na pagkatao ni Mar. Tulad ko, hindi niya naging ugaling magtaas sa sariling bangko. Sa Tagalog po, ibig sabihin nun, kada may nagawa kang kapraso, kailangan purihin mo sarili mo 10 beses. Okay? Sa amin pong pananaw, no? Tahimik lang na ginagampanan ni Mar ang sinumpaan niyang tungkol bayan at hindi naman kailangan ipagbanderan, dapat pasalamatan niyo ako. Di ba? Ang trabaho po natin ngayon, siguruhing makikita ng ating mga kapwa Pilipino ang katotohanan si Mar ang karapat-dapat at sigurado magtutuloy ng daang matuwid.
He also said he is not giving up on one particular candidate, alluding to Senator Grace Poe, whom he sees fit to be the vice presidential partner of Rojas.
Meron din namang tiwala tayong kahanay natin sa maraming paraan sa mabuting hangarin at tiwala. Buting hangarin at tiwala, tayo po ay wala naman duda sa kanyang kakayahan. Ako naman po ay naniniwala sa mabuti niyang intensyon. Kaya nga po tayo nagsisikap na makasama siya upang ipresenta sa publiko ang isang nagkakaisa at malakas na tandem. Ang maganda pa nga po, kung magiging kasama natin ang taong ito, mahahasa at mabibigyan lalim ang kanyang kaalaman at karanasan at ang mabuting intensyon ay talaga naman pong mapapagyaman pa ng sapat na kasanayan sa pamamahala. Lalo pong lalakas ang ating pag-asang miski pa sa 2022 ay patuloy pa rin ang tuwid na daan.
Some cabinet officials of the president joined the event, including MMDH Chair Francis Tolentino and Justice Secretary Leila de Lima, who both delivered speeches. Testimonials were also given by beneficiaries of the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program. Estimated crowd of 8,000 attended the event. For the People's Television, Elena Luna, Cebu City.
President Aquino reiterates his administration's support to infrastructure projects in Cebu. The president made the statement as he inspected various road projects in the province. Elena Luna reports.
President Aquino highlighted the significant infrastructure program of the government in the province of Cebu as he personally inspected the projects here. He surveyed the 28-kilometer Mactan circumferential road, which is expected to reduce travel time between Cebu and Mactan from 1.5 hours to an hour or less. DPWH reports to the president the project is 92% complete, finished before the year ends.
Alam po ninyo, sa kabila ng mga proyektong ating naisa sa konkreto, may nagagawa pa rin bumanat sa atin. May nagsabi nga po, hindi raw natin binigyan pansin ang infrastruktura sa Cebu. Parang gusto kong iabot sa kanya itong mga briefer na ating pong inaaral at naging makompleto ang kanyang datos. Mula sa mga kalsada, tulay, strukturang pang-flood control, sa paliparan, pantalan, hanggang sa farm-to-market roads at pangangailangan pang-irigasyon, ang nailan po natin pondo para sa programang pang-infrastruktura dito sa Cebu mula 2011 hanggang sa kasalukuyan, pumalo na po sa mahigit 22.848 pesos. Ito po ba ang tinatawag nilang itinaboy at hindi tinutukan ang Cebu?
The president's speech clarifies a statement earlier given by Vice President Jejomar Binay in Cebu, allegedly accusing the government of neglecting this province.
We know deep in our hearts that you love Cebu. And because you love Cebu, you've poured billions of pesos in infrastructure projects for Cebu's further development. Daghan yung kaayong salamat kanimo, Mr. President.
DPWH Secretary Rogelio Singson also reported to the President that the rehabilitation of the Sergio Osmeña Boulevard Port Corridor has been 100% completed since June. In the same event, the President shared the good news in the housing sector.
1,951 units sa pabahay na nagkakahalagang 546 million pesos ang ginagawa na sa 5 bayan dito sa Cebu para sa mga naapektuhan ng Yolanda. Siyempre po, doble kahit pa tayo para madagdagan ito.
For the People's Television, Elena Luna, Cebu City.
President Aquino has urged the El Shaddai religious group led by Brother Mike Velarde to continue what the administration has started in the past 5 years. The president issued the call in his speech when he attended the birthday of Velarde at Anvil Business Park in Parañaque City yesterday. Roque Ignacio reports.
President Aquino encourages continue praying for the success of straight path of governance in the country. The president said this during the 31st anniversary of El Shaddai and 76th birthday of its leader, Brother Mike Velarde, held in Parañaque City.
Tungkulin nga po ng bawat isa sa ating maging tanglaw ng pag-asa sa ating kapwa, lalo na sa mas nangangailangan. Kung babalikan talagang pong madilim ang kabanatang ating pinanggalingan, dahil sa laganap na katiwalaan at kahirapan, marami sa ating kababayan ang nawalan ng kumpiyansa sa Pilipinas at napilitang makipagsapalaran sa ibang bansa. Subalit sa gabay ng Panginoon at sa ating pagkakaisa na naig ang hangarin natin magsulong na makabuluhang pagbabago, pinili nating simulan at pag-alabin ang liwanag ng pag-asa kaysa mamanhili sa kadiliman. Pinili natin makiambag sa solusyon kaysa dumagdag sa problema. Gaya ng dakilang aral ni Kristo, nang ibabaw sa atin ang pagmamahal, pagmamalasakit at pakikipagkapwa-tao.
The President in the event recognizes El Shaddai's contributions in supporting good governance. President Aquino joined the celebration held at 4 in the morning and unmindful of inclement weather.
Sa mahigit 3 dekada ng pagiging servant leader ng El Shaddai, patuloy na nagsisilbing bukal ng lakas at inspirasyon si Brother Mike sa milyon-milyon nating mga kababayan. Tinataguin niya ang matibay na pananampalataya sa Diyos at ang pagsagawa ng El Shaddai ng mga panlipunan para sa ating mga kapatid na kapuspalan. Sa mga gaya nga po ni Brother Mike, lalong lumalakas ang loob nating ituloy ang pagtahak sa daang matuwid. Nakasama nating nananalangin, nagbibigay ng pag-asa sa mamamayan at nananawagang laging gawin ang tama't makatwiran. Tiwala po tayong patuloy sa magsisilbing huwaran ng paglilingkod sa Diyos at sambayanan. Sensya na po kayo, hindi po tayo talaga nagtatalumpati na alas 4 maliban paggaling ng ibang biyahe. Pero talaga naman bagamat bitin tayo sa tulog kagabi, medyo lumalakas pa sa nandiyan kayo.
The President reiterated that prayers are best needed in times of challenges, especially with the upcoming 2016 presidential elections.
Sa susunod na taon, muli pong haharap sa sangandaan ang sambayanan. Naway maging gabay tayo ng ating kapwa sa pagpili ng mga karapat-dapat na pinuno. Nananalig akong hindi tayo lilihis sa maganda nating nasimulan tungo sa pagkamit ng ating mga inaasam. Batid po natin may mga harapin pa tayong dambuhan ng pagsubok at may ilan pa rin magnanais na bumalik sa dating kalakaran. Sa lahat na ito, ang malakas po nating sandata, panalangin, malasakit at pananampalataya. Naway patuloy nating patunayan sa dakilang pag-ibig ng Panginoon at sa ating pagkakapit-bisig. Walang imposible. Gaya ng ating tuwinang pagsamo at dalangin, pagkalooban sana ang bawat Pilipino ng siksik, higlig at umaapaw na pagpapala. Kayo po at sa mga susunod pang henerasyon.
For the People's Television, Brock Ignacio.
Effective Tuesday, August 25th, fuel retailers will be slashing prices of fuel products. Shell Philippines will of gasoline by 1 peso and 10 centavos per liter, kerosene by 25 centavos per liter, and 40 centavos per liter for diesel. Phoenix Petroleum will also implement the same price cut for gasoline and diesel. Eastern Petroleum will also slash gasoline prices by 1 peso and 15 centavos and diesel prices by 45 centavos per liter. Other oil companies are expected to follow suit. The Philippines topped among ASEAN 5 in terms of ease of recruiting labor from abroad and sentiment towards the European Union. Based on the EU-ASEAN Business Council Business Sentiment Survey 2015, Malaysia came next to the Philippines in terms of ease of recruiting labor from abroad, then Singapore, Thailand, and Indonesia. In terms of sentiment towards the EU, Singapore ranked second, followed by Indonesia at third, Malaysia at fourth, and Thailand at fifth. The EU businesses ranked the Philippines second among ASEAN 5 in terms of availability of skilled labor. The country placed third in terms of availability of competitively priced labor, stable government and political system, regulatory regime, provision of government incentives, fiscal structure, and administrative cost for business. Multi-sectoral groups have been urged to actively participate in the government's campaign against corruption. The call was made by Deputy Ombudsman Melchor Caran during the APEC Anti-Corruption and Transparency Network meeting in Cebu City. The details from Ria Fernandez.
Deputy Ombudsman Melchor Carandang urges various sectors to join in their crusade against corruption. This is the meat of his statement as chairperson of the closed-door meeting of APEC ACNET, or Anti-Corruption and Transparency Network of Anti-Corruption Authorities and Law Enforcement Agencies here in Cebu. The Office of the Ombudsman needs help from multi-sectoral groups like private and business sector, academic, media, and non-government organizations to achieve their goal. He says that a developed country and a stable socio-economic environment to attract local and foreign investment require a graft and corruption-free society. Over 100 APEC working group meetings, including ACNET, have started since August 22. On the same day, the third senior officials meeting have also commenced, which will culminate on September 6. Agreements will then be presented at APEC Leaders Summit in November. For the People's Television, Ria Fernandez, Cebu City.
To ensure the protection of buyers, a congressman from Masbate has filed a bill seeking to ban requiring buyers of real estate and condominium units to pay reservation or other fees prior to their submission of documentary requirements. Masbate 3rd District Representative Scott Llanete noted the failure of a prospective buyer to submit the requirements automatically feature of the reservation fee. Under the bill, the buyer will not be required to pay reservation fees or down payment until all the documentary requirements are processed and accepted by the developer as valid and complete. The bill provides a fine of not less than 500,000 pesos but not more than 1 million pesos. House budget deliberations resumed today. Up in the agenda was the proposed outlay for the Department of Tourism. For the details, here's Freddy Abando.
In 2014, tourism arrivals reached 4.8 million. For the first 6 months of 2015, the numbers reached 2.6 million. In today's budget hearing for the budget of the Department of Tourism, Secretary Ramon Jimenez said tourism has national business with a significant impact on the economy in terms of revenues and employment. Its benefits has been spread out all over the country and has been a major anchor for the government's anti-poverty program in the countryside.
The vital statistics, or the most crucial statistics in a tourism business, is always 3, not 1. Arrivals are not the sole determinant of the success of any tourism industry. It is always looked upon as being a product of arrivals, the revenue derived out of those arrivals, and the employment that you get out of those arrivals. As far as the Department of Tourism of the Republic of the Philippines is concerned, targets for revenue and employment are being met as we speak. Our targets for arrivals have not, and this is the nature of the business. In 2013, when we realized that there could be a problem with, at the end of 2013, the shortfall in the development of infrastructure projects, the twin calamities of the earthquake in Bohol and Yolanda, etc., we had to make strategic moves to make sure that our income and the employment that we had promised the people would still be achieved. So the department shifted it to more lucrative markets so that, A, we would get more, if you will, heavier spending tourists, and B, tourists who tended to stay longer.
Jimenez also bared government spending for tourism infrastructure has been a major plus in improving connectivity from Manila to major tourist destinations. The package includes airports and national roads. Because of the open skies policy of government, there are more direct flights to key destinations to include Cebu, Iloilo, Davao, Clark, and even Luwag in the north. However, the lack of infrastructure was a major concern for Buhay Party List Congressman Lito Atienza, especially in Metro Manila. said the bad traffic situation in Metro Manila is also a major concern for tourists. Jimenez also dismissed Atienza's claim that the Philippines is not safe for tourists. Jimenez feared that Manila is safer compared to other Asian and American cities. Jimenez stressed the country's law enforcement agencies, led by the Philippine National Police, has been working around the clock to protect our people and preserve the peace.
Peace and order conditions, would that be a factor, Mr. Secretary?
Of course, in any touristic environment.
Of course, because when tourists are not safe walking around the streets of Manila.
Tourists are safe, sir. They were as safe in the Philippines as they would be anywhere else. In fact, when there is time, we can take you through statistics that will show that the Philippines is far safer than some other destinations that people automatically assume to be more popular.
For the People's Television Network, this is Freddie Abando reporting.
The Philippine government, through the Basis Conversion and Development Authority, is giving the Japanese government the majority stake in its venture, the joint venture for the Clark Green City, or CGC project. BCDA President and Chief Executive Officer Arnel Pasiano Casanova said they always intend to take the minority share. Early this month, BCDA reported that it forged a partnership with Japanese Overseas Infrastructure Investment Corporation for transport urban development to create a joint venture firm that will facilitate concession rights at CGC in central Luzon.
Key Asian stock markets are down sharply Monday, continuing a global slide that saw U.S. markets drop 3% at the close Friday. Japan's Nikkei dropped more than 3%, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng fell nearly 5% hours before Monday's close. Other markets in the Pacific region were also down sharply. China's Shanghai Exchange was down more than 8%. The fall in markets across the globe in recent days is keyed mainly by a fear about a Chinese economy that is slowing more than had been expected. The main PSEI dipped 187.97 points, or 67.70%, to close at 6,791.01. The broader all-shares index closed at 3,881.70, down 276.42, or 6.65%. All counters were in the red. Total volume reached 2,369 billion, valued at 13.033 billion pesos. Losers led winners 212 to 13, while 20 stocks were unchanged.
Philippines, live from Pag-asa Weather and Flood Forecasting Center. Here's our latest weather information. At 12 in the morning today, Typhoon Goni has finally exited the Philippine area of responsibility. According to Pag-asa weather forecaster Chris Perez, it will last spotted near the southern islands of Japan. Meanwhile, Typhoon Achani was located somewhere east of southern Japan. Both cyclones are not expected to directly affect the country. However, as Typhoon Goni moves further away from the Philippines, it continues to enhance the southwest monsoon or hanging habaga. This weather system is expected to dump monsoon rains over Pangasinan, La Union, Zambales, and here in Bataan. Occasional rains are expected over Metro Manila, Mimaropa, and Calabarzon, while the rest of Luzon will experience cloudy skies with light to moderate rains and isolated thunderstorms. The remaining parts of the country will have partly cloudy to cloudy skies, still with chances of isolated rain showers or thunderstorms. Gale warning is up over the seaboards of northern and central Luzon and also here in the western seaboard of southern Luzon. Sea travel is risky for fishing boats and other small sea craft as rough to very rough sea condition may still prevail. Meanwhile, due to the combined effect of Typhoon Ining and Habagat, several areas, mostly in the northern Luzon and western section of Luzon, have experienced a heavy downpour. In fact, based on the rainfall data of Pag-asa from 11 a.m. yesterday to 8 a.m. today, here's a list of top 3 highest rainfall. Subic experienced 150 millimeters of rain, while 105 millimeters of rain were recorded over Sinait, Ilocos Sur. And lastly, Iba Zambales has accumulated 86.2 millimeters of rain. More about the weather and astronomy coming up after a short break.
Teng, ang package.
Ma'am, sabi ng Air 21 on the road na.
Ano, Teng? Ang package.
Ma'am, sabi ng Air 21 na receive na.
Okay, very good.
Basta padala, sagot ka ng Air 21. May real-time delivery updates via text para worry-free ka.
Teng, ang package, napadala mo na?
Yes, ma'am. Sa Air 21.
Sa Air 21, sagot ko, padala mo.
Days, many of us are asking, when are we going to have an improved weather? Let's check the 3-day weather forecast from Pag-asa. Starting off with Baguio City, rains will prevail tomorrow and on Wednesday, but don't fret as the sun will show up again by Thursday. Now for Metro Manila, we must still prepare against rains tomorrow and on Wednesday, but come Thursday, the weather will gradually improve. Next, residents of Metro Cebu will have partly cloudy to cloudy skies with chances of isolated rain showers or thunderstorms until Thursday. For Metro Davao, temperatures will be at 25 to 32 degrees Celsius, while isolated rain showers or thunderstorms are still expected. And now for Zamboanga City, you can enjoy the weather but make sure to gear up for possible rains mostly in the latter part of the day. In other news, waxing gibbous moon will appear in the sky tonight. This phase occurs when the moon appears to be more than one-half but not fully illuminated by direct sunlight. Because the illuminated part is decreasing, it is considered to be waxing. It is also happening when the moon is between a 45 and 90 degree angle with respect to the Earth and the Sun. Meanwhile, for tomorrow, the sun will rise at 5:43 in the morning and it will set at 6:13 in the evening. And that's the latest weather information. For more updates, like us on Facebook, panahon.tv. Follow us on Twitter at panahon.tv and visit our website at www.panahon.tv. Also, catch our program tomorrow. That's 5 to 5:30 in the morning, only here on television. This has been your weather lover, Amor La Rosa. Good evening.
Ako, piloto.
Panatiliing maayos at ligtas ang kalusugan ng kabataang Pilipino. Ilayo sila sa nakamamatay na sakit sa tigdas, German measles, tetano at diphtheria. Makiisa sa gaganating libreng bakuna para sa lahat ng grade 1 at grade 7 sa mga paaralan ngayong Agosto. Mga magulang or guardian, lagdaan ng consent form, libre, mabisa at ligtas para sa mga bata. Sa tuwid na daan, kalusugang tuloy-tuloy para sa pamilyang Pinoy.
Kuya Kim Atienza po. And I'm Pugat Explorer from Davao City. Pestology? That mate is the science of exterminating household pests, or what we call peste. Para sa problema sa taga, ipis, anay at lamok, tawagan ang Mapicon. 5, 6, 7, pest. Mapicon! Bogart? You're in control with Mapicon.
Kami siguro yung isa sa pioneering na nagpo-produce ng virgin coconut oil na masasabi namin talagang kami nag-start niyan. Si Philippine Coconut Authority, sila yung talagang nag-encourage sa akin na sumama sa mga iba't ibang show sa abroad para lang maipakilala talaga na ito yung product ng Pilipinas na pwede namang ipagmalaki. In demand din kagad dito sa iba't ibang bansa. Di Hong Kong, Macau, Singapore, Korea, Japan, sa US, sa Canada, sa Europe meron na rin po kaming incoming na mga PO. Nitong lately, mga 2 years na yung Kokulisa, naapektuhan yung production namin. Walang dumadating na supply or may dumating mang supply kakaunti, mataas yung price. Naramdaman namin yung tulong ng Philippine Coconut Authority. During the infestation, naandyan sila para nag-spray, sila yung nagsusupply ng i-spray. Nagpuspusan ng kanilang pagpapapropagate ng bagong pananim naman. Binigyan nila kami ng papalit doon sa nasirang puno. Ngayon lang nakaka-recover na ang mga nyug namin. Sa ating national government o President Aquino, nagpapasalamat po ako bilang isang small entrepreneur sa coconut industry. Napakalaki po ng naitulong sa business na to. Marami kaming natutulungang farmers. Sila po ay nagkakaroon ng hanap buhay dahil sa mga tulong na binibigay nyo rin sa amin para din kami ay makatulong sa mga taong ito.
Welcome to Isyung Patok.
Gusto niyo bang maalis ang Pilipino sa kolehiyo?
Pabor po ako matanggal ang Pilipino
Hindi
subject.
kalidad ang pinag-uusapan dito. Dagdag na taon.
Ang mali dito ay kakalimutan natin yung kahalagahan ng wikang Filipino.
Isigaw sa buong mundo is Schoolmates. May pakialam ka!
Schoolmates. Tuwing Martes, alas 8 ng gabi. Dito lang sa PTV.
Says the death toll from the Typhoon Ineng has climbed to 17. 14 others are missing. The full story from Christine Santos.
Typhoon Ineng has moved further away from the Philippine area of responsibility. However, it left roads closed to vehicles and cuts power supply in some parts of Region 1. Based on the recent data from the NDRRMC, Typhoon Ineng left 17 dead. Most casualties are from Cordillera region, which logged 15 deaths, mostly due to landslides. There are also 14 missing and 17 injured. It is now the government's priority to rehabilitate roads that connect cities and municipalities and Cordillera region. 50 roads and 11 bridges were heavily damaged by the typhoon. According to USEC Alexander Pama, the agency's local and national government are working together to fund the rehabilitation of damaged infrastructures.
Tuloy-tuloy na inaayos ng mga ating mga samahan sa DPWH. In fact, pinag-uusapan na namin kanina yung mga tulay, kunyari na mga nasira na pwedeng na dapat na critical. Kunyari itong sa Santa Nato na kailangan maibalik kasi yun lang talaga ang source na ma-connect sila. So bibilisan natin yung proseso na ang paggagamitan natin ito kung wala ng pondo yung DPWH. Aming i-recommenda from the NDRRMC kay Presidente na gamitin yung calamity funds.
Were estimated at 165 million pesos. Damage to infrastructures got the highest amount of more than 121 million pesos. Meanwhile, the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines is hastening the repair of their tower in San Esteban, Ilocos Sur. This tower provides power supply to Ilocos Norte and some parts of Ilocos Sur. According to NGCP spokesperson Cynthia Albanza, power supply is expected to be restored on August 26.
Na-submerge na, tuluyan na kung gumuho yung tore dahil po na-erode na yung pundasyon niya dahil umabot na po yung Santa Maria River dun sa pundasyon ng tore namin. Mula po dyan sa substation na yan, kumukuha ng kuryente ang buong Ilocos Norte at ang northern part po ng Ilocos Sur. Restoration efforts po namin ay hopefully po kung hindi po magkakaroon ng iba pang aberya at patuloy na gumaganda ang panahon, matatapos po namin ng August 26.
5 in the afternoon Monday, the NDRRMC put their operations center down to blue alert after the typhoon exits the Philippine area of responsibility.
Meanwhile, search and rescue operations continue for small-scale miners trapped in a landslide in Benguet. 3 bodies have been recovered from the site. More from Jonathan Llanes.
Responders from the Police Regional Office Cordillera, Benguet Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, Civilian Armed Forces Geographical Unit, Goldrich Expo International Mining Company, and Lepanto Mines are still conducting search and rescue for 12 small-scale miners earlier trapped in their temporary campsite at Sitio Elizabeth, Taneg, Mangkayan in Benguet Province due to a landslide in the said location. Benguet Governor Nestor Pongwan said responders have retrieved the bodies of miners Crispin Ablao, Felimon Adcapan, Armando Dayao, and Jasper Cipian Olivares. Drowning victim Mark Jun Honrado Tobias' body was also recovered by responders in the province of Abra. Governors Pongwan and Eustaquio Bersamin of Abra earlier suspended classes on all levels due to inclement weather. Meanwhile, Kilometer 16 of Alsema Highway in Benguet remains closed to traffic due to a road cut. In Baguio City, the portion of Barangay Wabak at Camp 7 Cannon Road remains closed to traffic due to a recurring landslide, while Marcos Highway, Nagilian, and Benguet Vizcaya Road remains The Cordillera Regional Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council reported 10 barangays in Lagangilang, Abra that were submerged in water, affecting 273 households or 1,305 individuals. In the municipality of La Paz, isolated areas were reported to be in Barangay Ligis with a population of 292, Barangay Siwasu with 32 families, and Barangay Pagala with 200 families. In Kalinga Province, responders have recovered the body of Julius Gumisa, who was reported to have drowned in Barangay Kalutit, Bontoc Mountain Province, but was retrieved at Barangay Suyang in Tabuk City. The Regional Civil Defense Office registered 15 casualties with 8 injuries, while 730 families or 13,788 individuals were affected by the passage of Typhoon Ineng in northern Luzon. Aside from the 6 OCD car identified the 9 others as Wyker Mayon of Mountain Province, Martin Celo, Erwin Celo, Michael Martin Lagasan, Glenn Baldasan Polok, Michael Felix, Nova May Diaz Tuason, Noli Galidan Lobante Jr., and Johnny Belario Katubing, all from Benguet Province and victims of landslides.
From the city of Baguio for the People's Television, Jonathan Lianes.
The Department of Agriculture says Typhoon Ineng's initial damage to crops has been placed at close to 41 million pesos. The crop damage was mostly in the Cordillera Administrative Region. Sweden Velado tells us more.
As of today, crop damages in Cordillera Administrative Region brought by Typhoon Ineng had reached more than 4 pesos.
40,862,374, a total of 1,549 hectares for agriculture areas, and an estimated production loss of 2,395 metric tons. Particularly, this is Car region.
More than 1,000 hectares of corn fields equivalent to production loss of 1,400 metric tons of crops worth 16.4 million pesos were heavily damaged by Ineng. 33 hectares or 20 metric tons of rice worth 400,000 pesos and 348 hectares or more than 2,000 metric tons of high-value crops such as fruits and vegetables worth 24 million pesos were also devastated. The Department of Agriculture coordinates closely with to determine other crop damages in other affected areas. Meanwhile, DA and World Bank continue its partnership to implement rural development projects that have to do with infrastructure and agribusiness that would benefit our local farmers. The two agencies are now in its second year of building farm-to-market roads and bridges for a faster transportation of goods and crops harvested by farmers.
We're now on the second year of the project. This is a nationwide activity, and this is a nationwide project. Different range of projects po ito. Meron nga po tayo this infrastructure projects, and we have agribusiness projects.
For the People's Television, this is Sweden Velado.
Department of Foreign Affairs says 2 female Filipino nurses in Saudi Arabia have been confined in the intensive care unit for contracting the deadly MERS-CoV virus. DFA spokesman Charles Jose said 2 others are in isolation. Jose declined to identify the Filipino victims, but said all 4 work in the same hospital and got the virus due to exposure from MERS patients. Sweden Velado filed this report.
The Department of Foreign Affairs confirmed 4 Filipino nurses in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia are positive with Middle East Respiratory Syndrome coronavirus or MERS-CoV. According to DFA spokesman Charles Jose, 2 nurses remain critical and are inside intensive care unit. The other health worker is under isolation, while the remaining patient did not exhibit
but is still under observation.
In the report of the embassy, there are 4 cases. Well, they were treating MERS-CoV patients, so by exposure.
One patient is male aged 55 years old, while the rest are female aged 29, 32, and 50 years old. Jose shared that all 4 nurses work in the same hospital to treat MERS-CoV patients, and they might have been infected by exposure. The Philippine Embassy in Riyadh had informed the families of affected nurses and continues to keep in touch with them for further information. The DFA refused to disclose the name of the patient's workplace, but the management of the hospital assured that it will give the best medications for the 4 Filipino nurses. The hospital is equipped with comprehensive treatments and facilities for MERS-CoV cases.
Our embassy was assured by the management of the hospital that these Filipinos are being provided the best medical treatment available, and that the hospital is well equipped with comprehensive treatment and facilities for MERS-CoV cases.
The Department of Foreign Affairs reminded Filipinos in Middle East to strictly follow prevention protocols for MERS-CoV and get immediate treatment in the hospital once symptoms are felt. For the People's Television, this is Sweden Velado.
Lance Corporal Joseph Scott Pemberton has admitted choking to death Jennifer Laude after discovering that she was transgender. Pemberton made the admission at today's hearing at the Olongapo City Regional Trial Court. The American soldier is accused of murder in the death of Laude, who was found lifeless in the bathroom of a motel room in Olongapo City last year. Laude was last seen with Pemberton before her body was found. Pemberton is detained at the Jusmag facility inside Camp Aguinaldo in Quezon City.
Holders of firearms that are unlicensed or with expired permits will have another chance to possess them legally. Let's hear the full story from Alvin Baltazar.
The government again will open the opportunity to gun owners who possess unlicensed or unregistered guns through another gun amnesty. Target date of the police leadership to implement the gun amnesty, third quarter of this year. According to Senior Superintendent Sidney Ernia of PNP Firearms and Explosives Office, guidelines are now being finalized and is subject for approval by the Office of the Chief PNP.
We have approximately about 500,000 expired licenses. So these expired licenses dates back about 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So these are different years. The expiration of these firearms expired in the different years.
Based on the records of the Philippine National Police, FPO, loose firearms in the entire country are at more than 500,000. 1.7 million are registered firearms in the PNP's record, but some are no longer updated. Expired gun licenses. The remedy, the PNP is thinking on this matter, another batch of gun amnesty that would kick off any day of this quarter.
Some of these firearms now have expired licenses. That is why our trust now is to have the final general amnesty this third quarter to address this issue of so many firearms now which have expired licenses.
Meanwhile, PNP FAO confirmed that firearm sales went up from January to July this 2015, which is at 26,000. Such data is much higher to the 26,000 purchased firearms for the whole year of 2014. For the People's Television, Alvin Baltazar.
The AFP says its C-130 plane in case a repatriation of Filipinos from Korea is ordered. The tense situation in the Korean peninsula rose sharply over the weekend when both sides exchanged fire along the border. 2 meetings between representatives of both countries have been held to ease the situation. More of this report from Christine Santos.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines expressed readiness to provide aid to Filipinos in South Korea. This is in case the tension between the North and South Korea rises, particularly in the Demilitarized Zone or DMZ. According to Colonel Noel de Toyato, the Philippine Air Force is ready to help if there will be a need to repatriate Filipinos. 3 C-130 and a medium-lift wing C-295 are on standby, which could be deployed anytime. A C-130 is capable of carrying 100 persons, while 95 can bear the weight of 70 people.
We will be ready to support the Department of Foreign Affairs, whatever the policy will be regarding that matter. If the need arises, we will be in close coordination with the Department of Foreign Affairs. We have in the inventory of our Air Force is 3 C-130s. These are all capable of long-distance flying, and 1 C-295, the brand new cargo airplane of the Air Force.
Detayato said the DFA has not yet ordered the repatriation. According to him, the repatriation will be initiated if the DFA has already given the green light. Detayato said the repatriation will be easier due to the military's additional assets.
We have existing procedures on that. It is just a reactivation of a former activity, but this time it will be different because we have more flying assets. We have more C-130s.
Which means?
This means it will become easier. The support we can give to the Department of Foreign Affairs will be better.
Based on the 2014 data of the Department of Labor and Employment, there are about 23,900 Filipinos in South Korea.
When the father of Eden, Jing and Keng, passed away, he left a residential lot in Parañaque City. 1 year after their father passed away, Eden and Jing decided to partition the property among the three of them and their mother. However, they were surprised to know that Keng sold the property to a build and sell company. They wanted to know if they can still run after their share in the property when Keng had sold the same already. Keng was justifying his act because of the deed of donation that his father had allegedly executed when he was alive. Eden and Jing remember that an inheritance does not pass upon the heirs until the death of the testator. Should there be no last will made, the ownership of the property will only pass upon to the heirs once when the ascendant is already deceased. With regard to the alleged donation in favor of Keng, it appears that the same is inofficious. The property is the sole property of your parents, and simply disposing it in favor of one of the heirs is tantamount to disinheriting the others. When the father passed away, there should have been a partition, whether judicial or extrajudicial. Since none was made, the property remained under the co-ownership of your mother and the three of you. With regard to the present issue, remember that under the law, you can still protect your interest over the property through collation. A fairly recent jurisprudence of the Supreme Court states that the term collation has two distinct concepts. First, it is a mere mathematical operation by the addition of the value of the donations made by the testator to the value of the hereditary estate. And second, it is the return to the hereditary estate of property disposed of by lucrative title by the testator during his lifetime. Since your parents' property was disposed of by your brother, you can collate the value it was for and become the subject of partition after satisfying all the debts and legal obligations that your parents may have had. Of course, all of these will only be possible at the moment of death of your ascendant. Be reminded that our opinion is based solely on the information you provided us, and it may change depending on any additional information. You are free to consult a lawyer of your choice regarding your legal concerns. Email us at ptv4newscenter@gmail.com. Attorney JJ Jimeno Atienza for the Rule of Law.
The sentencing by Russia this week of an Estonian security official to 15 years in jail for alleged spying is the latest incident amid growing tension between NATO and the Baltic states. As Henry Ridgewell reports, NATO fears Russia is trying to foment unrest among native Russian populations.
The official opening of NATO's Strategic Communications Centre of Excellence in Riga, Latvia, a facility aimed at tackling cyber warfare and countering Russian propaganda. Among those attending the ceremony Thursday was US Senator John McCain.
This center can help get the truth and the reality to the people of all of NATO, including the Baltics, and I am convinced that we can counter that propaganda because that propaganda is false.
Analysts warn that Moscow is trying to destabilize the former Soviet Baltic states of Latvia and Lithuania, a charge Russia denies.
There are some provocations trying to create this tension, social tension within the Estonian society, within the Baltic society. So it is underway. In this sense, the threat is quite realistic. It is here.
Sutyagin says Moscow is directing the propaganda at so-called non-citizens, that is, residents of the Baltic states who hold Russian passports.
They do not need citizenship, but that does not mean that they want to support Russia or want Russia to come to their life.
Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania are members of NATO and entitled to protection under the bloc's Article 5 on collective defence. In September 2014, Russia detained Estonian security official Eston Kohver on the shared border, and this week sent 15 years in jail for spying. Estonia insists he is innocent and was captured on Estonian soil, and that has big implications for NATO, says Sutyagin.
We already have one occasion of invasion on the NATO territory in Estonia when Kohver was kidnapped, and no one reacted to that. So that is why the threat is here, and that is the lesson, because salami tactics, you slice piece by piece, and that was the first piece.
Estonia has responded to the perceived Russian threat by boosting defence spending to 2% of GDP. The other Baltic states have not followed suit.
Lithuania and Latvia, countries that used to speak a lot about their anxiety regarding Russia, but spent around 1% GDP on defense.
The United States has pre-positioned tanks, artillery and other heavy weapons in Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. Washington says it is committed to defending their territorial integrity.
Roger Federer is the winner of this year's ATP Cincinnati Masters title. The Swiss tennis player won his second consecutive ATP title by beating top seed and world #1 Novak Djokovic. The score was 7-6, 6-3. With the victory, Federer has brought his record number of Cincinnati titles to 7.
Here are tomorrow's headlines. President Aquino assures that there will be safeguards to prevent abuse in the Bureau of Customs plan random inspection of balikbayan boxes. President Aquino traces reports of a possible tandem with DILG Secretary and Liberal Party Presidential Standard Bearer Mar Rojas in the 2016 elections. Petroleum products will cost less effective tomorrow with oil firms implementing new price adjustments. The National Risk Reduction Management Council says Typhoon Ineng left at least 17 people dead and 14 others missing.
The Persian poet Rumi's place in the history of religion is as a bridge between faiths. He deepens us wherever, and his words live in the heart, within the core of our lives, to praise, to worship, to explore the mystery of union with our God. We begin our week with a quote from his poem, Pure Silence. Be clear like a mirror, reflecting nothing. Be clean of pictures and the worry that comes with images. Gaze into what I am not ashamed of or afraid of any truth. Contain all human faces in your own without any judgment of them. Be pure emptiness. What is inside that, you ask? Silence is all I can say. Lovers have some secrets that they keep.
And with that, we bring to a close the summary of your news and your life, because the People's Television Network is your news live. I am Catherine Vital with Georgina Ketrick. Thank you and good evening.
Brought to you by Philippine Statistics Authority. Magpa-census, magpabilang.